Some more. Okay, so, and just to give you a little bit of what our deal was in our last transaction with a roof, where we ended up having to extend it because of the roof. The roof came up, Christine, correct me if I'm wrong here. Well, you can share whatever one you want. I'm going to share the one we just did in Overbrook. So we got inspections. The inspector called out some things on the roof, and it wasn't a full, what the inspector would say, just get further evaluation. So we did, and we determined that it needed to be replaced. So we asked the seller to put in for a claim. The adjuster came out and they did their thing, and they said that they couldn't cover it because it looked like past damage. And so they suggested just doing a patch and repair, which we were representing the buyer. We're like, no, that's not acceptable. So it ended up working out to where the seller ended up agreeing to replace the roof. But because of issues like that, where the insurance won't cover it because they said it was a past damage to the roof, we were all put in this position of, okay, well, how do we all move forward so that we're all happy in this scenario? So it's issues like that. And if anybody else has a scenario where they had an issue with roof or insurance, you're free to share your experience too. But if not, I've got a list of questions here. I'm going to start going in with Mark and Brad here. First of all, Brad, go ahead and introduce yourself. Everybody knows you, but just give them an idea of your
Brad Noller, Agent with American Family. Been doing this about 20 years, and every day you see something new. It seems like the last couple of years have really been really abrupt with changes in roof deductibles, roof coverage, scenarios you talked about, just because the cost of doing business has changed so much ever since COVID. But all I try to do is just be as honest and upfront with our clients and say, hey, this is scenarios. Here's what I would do if I was in your shoes. Here's the options, and kind of let the client walk through what they want to do. So just give them the options, give them the information. That's what I get all the time. Hey, what would you do? And this is what I would say.
Sure. Mark McBeth, sorry, Benchmark Property Remodeling, Roof Maxx, Topeka, Precision Roofing in the Lawrence area. We are a full-service roofing company. So we do everything from repairs to general maintenance to rejuvenation and roof replacement. We do work with insurance companies. We're not a roofing company that goes pursuing and trying to get insurance claims, but we work with insurance considerably.
Okay. So some of the topics that I've got written here are insurance and roof condition in real estate. So how do roof conditions affect home insurance underwriting and premiums?
So basically, if somebody purchases a house, a client of ours, we kind of get the information. As much information they have up front is the best. How old the roof is, what shape it is, if they've got an inspection, any pictures and stuff like that, because we don't want any surprises when it looks good from the ground, but do we need to send Mark out or whoever to look at the roof before we underwrite it? Because you don't want after the fact that house closes, cancellation, you got to replace your roof within 60 days. So we always want to attack that. But on the other side, we don't want to, mess up a transaction either. Just kind of let people know, hey, if you got over a 10-year-old roof or 15-year-old roof, it's probably going to be actual cash value coverage, so not replacement cost. Okay. And as long as the buyer is okay with that and understands that is the key, then we
sure
put that forward.
So in that scenario, I guess, when it is older than well, first of all, let's talk about, and Mark, this is probably more directed towards you, but we hear 30-year shingle all the time, but I don't think it's a full 30 years. So
right.
What's your comments on that?
So to me, it's 30 years is kind of like when you go to a store and they say lifetime warranty on something, you buy it, you never fill out the warranty, and you just think you got a good product because of it. Manufacturers of shingles have done the same thing. They've claimed they have a 30-year shingle. Its average life is about 15 years. That's why the insurance company pulls that year out. And So the manufacturers are not producing a shingle that will last without general maintenance that will extend the life of the 30 years that the warranty so-called claims.
So in the scenario where you've got a seller and you got a buyer, and there is a 15+ year roof, what does that look like on your end, and what are you? And obviously the quote you're going to give them is there's a lot of factors in all that. But what are you saying to that buyer, to that client with that age of roof?
Just plan on. I mean, so that, a couple things we've been active in is looking at like the home savings program we talked about, letting them know, hey, you're probably going to have this much out of pocket if you have a claim in the next couple of years. Let's look at this, or what the cost is going to be. So there's no surprises, basically. So, and also we have what's called a roof schedule, and it will say, hey, you got a 30-year roof. It's 17 years old. Here's the schedule. It's going to be depreciated basically 35 or 65% because it's 17 years into its 30-year life. So based on that, you're not going to get a lot if there is damage and to get it repaired. So just be aware of that.
Sure. So if somebody has a home inspection, and something that we hear in our home inspections a lot is it's functioning as it should, but is at its life. I guess how do you take wording like that within an inspection?
You're talking about somebody has a home inspection. Yeah. So a lot of times we'll send that to underwrite, and that's nice with dealing with somebody local, whether it's us or your other local agency owners around here. They can send it to their underwriter. Hey, here's pictures. What do you think? Can we keep this? What's the life expectancy of this roof? And have somebody like Mark write it up. Hey, this has got 7 to 10 years of life. They'll let them write that with an actual cash value policy. And then maybe depending on the life expectancy, they may ask for another update in 5 years or stuff like that. And we are starting to use some technology that helps us do that now. We just started partnering with a company called Cape Analytics, and I showed Toby a picture of his house just to see if he'd recognize it. But hey, here's what we're looking at. It's an aerial view, kind of like a little bit like your Eagle view that you guys use, and it shows the complexity of the roof. Because before, a 10-year-old roof that maybe has a certain amount of squares and no slopes is going to be a lot less to replace than something that's got like 40 different curves and corners on it. Right. So it kind of factors that in too. But yeah, like I said, very, very complex.
So,
Yeah, you do.
looks like a rabbit tail. What if you you're at 17 years of life, and you're saying that out of 30, and what if Mark goes in and does a Roof Maxx treatment on it? Does it bring that up the 5 years that he guarantees it to that life expectancy?
That will. So that's interesting because that would probably help like on an underwriting pictures that I send. So after it's been Roof Maxx, they're going to say, okay, we're going to accept this for longer. But probably, honestly, if the information you had says was put on, what would that be, 2008 or something? If it was 17-year-old roof, they would use that for that roof schedule, so that wouldn't change. But the life expectancy, or the longer you could keep that roof insured with us, would likely expand because of that treatment and the life expectancy of that roof. What is it? At least
5-year warranty. Yeah.
So does that change though to how do I want to word it?
Mm-hmm.
What you'll pay out on it if it came?
If we have documentation that shows, I mean, if it's unknown, then yeah. But I can't speak to every agent because I know some play that game. Where
it's a carrier issue. I don't mean issue, but it's a carrier thing, right?
Yeah.
So there's some that are doing the insurance coverage based strictly on years. Mm-hmm. So if it's a 10-year roof or if it's a 15-year roof, that carrier will say, no, we're not going to insure that roof. And they're just driving that 15-year-old thing. And then there's other carriers who are seriously looking at, if the condition of the roof gives me 5+ years of life left, then it's a valid roof. Mm-hmm. So that is being driven more and more by the state of Florida. Florida kind of leads the industry in roofing across the entire nation. They've created regulations that says that if a roof is rejuvenated, it's got general maintenance, it has to be insured. and it has to, and if it says that it's going to do 5+ years of life, then it's guaranteed for that. Now, it doesn't guarantee whether it's going to be a cash value or not, but it does guarantee that that roof has to be insured. That, with Florida doing that just a year ago, the nation will be turning slowly in that direction over time.
So-
but you ask Brad, and he's like, "Oh, never heard of Roof Maxx," or whatever. It's certain agents have not heard of it. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say it's more likely during the underwriting process, if there's an unknown, that's going to look like a better roof. So we're going to estimate it. And some of it is there's no science to it because, you might have had a contractor. When did that roofing registry come into effect? 2015?
Which one?
The Kansas.
Oh, yeah, somewhere around there.
But before, you didn't have to be registered and insured. And there's a roofing registry now through this state of Kansas Secretary of State's office that you have to be insured, registered in Kansas to do business in Kansas. Before then, somebody could come in, like we were talking about the fly-by-night groups out of Texas or whatever would come in, and I'm sure everybody in 2011, that was when it was crazy here. We had companies everywhere came into Topeka. You didn't have to be, so there was no documentation of who did what back then. So you could have a roof that looks like it's a 2011 roof because it's been Roof Maxx, and it's actually 2005. So technically it's not going to change if we know the age of the roof, but I've seen people massage that and say, "Oh yeah, it's only a 14-year-old roof,"
And it's
because of that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And so and I'm sure Brad sent out some of these too, where they start to say, "Hey, the condition of your roof changed." That view that he's doing from the satellite says, "Hey, we can see you have black streaks on your roof or whatever. We know your roof's older than 10 years old now, so we're going to change your policy." Okay. Some of them are just dropping them completely. Some insurance companies just say, "Oh, you're being dropped." As of right now, we've been successful in getting every single one of those reversed, except for when they've completely dropped them. If they just said, "We're dropping you," they don't care. They're not going to change their mind. But if they said, "Hey, we're going to change things. We're going to we're going to adjust or we're not going to cover your roof or whatever," we've been successful in getting all those changed so far as our company.
As doing the Roof Maxx treatment.
Mostly across the nation, we've been able to do that as well by sending what we say is a maintenance report. Here, Teresa has taken the necessary steps to maintain her roof. She's got a general tune-ups on it, and she has treated it with a rejuvenation product that extends the life of this roof. This roof has 10+ years of life still left in it. With repeated treatments, she can get up to another 15 or total years of life for this roof. They then reverse those. On occasion, they'll come out and re-inspect.
Yeah.
And we've been successful there too. And we actually had one show up, and they said, "Why did you send me back out? I don't understand. What was the deal with this roof the first time? I don't get it." Because it looked so much different. It felt different when they walked on it. It just had it was in a much better condition. And really, that's what the insurance companies want, is they want something that they don't have to file a claim on. When hail hits a brittle shingle, it's going to break. Hail hits a flexible shingle, and it's not massive hail, it's not going to break that shingle. It's going to maintain its strength just like a new shingle. So that's where the insurance company and Roof Maxx kind of play back and forth.
So you mentioned Florida kind of leading the nation. When you speak of that and you're starting to speak of Roof Maxx, explain to us a little bit more of what Roof Maxx is, what it does, and how it pertains to insurance, and where you see it going across the nation in the future, because it is such a big thing going on with roofs, especially in Kansas. We're starting to see it more often in our transactions. So what is your forecast for the future with Roof Maxx insurance and matching kind of what Florida's doing?
Well, two things. One, you can replace your roof every 10 years because you want to make sure you're getting full roof value out of the insurance. That's pretty pricey, right? Every time you sell a house, you got to replace your roof. That's going to get pretty pricey on people. So Roof Maxx takes that shingle back to its original flexibility and pliability. So it doesn't throw granules back on. So if we see that the granules are missing, it's got major cracks, those things, we're going to say replace, right? But if we can rejuvenate that and extend that life and is flexible, pliable, we know that it's going to hold up the windstorms better. It's going to hold up the hail. Research has clearly defined that. We see massive documentations going on in Iowa with hail damage where roofs that are treated got zero hail and those that did not. So one example was another contractor hired a Roof Maxx dealer. That he treated the garage as just a sample because the contractor's skeptical. And about 4 or 5 days later, the hail hit. The garage sustained zero damage. Had another inspector come in and reevaluate as well. And the insurance agent said, "Hey," or the adjuster said, "We're going to replace the roof, but not the garage." And so it's pretty clear there. Same thing with wind damage in hurricane locations like Florida. That's why there's the largest capita of Roof Maxx dealers in the entire nation, is because it's reducing the impacts of the wind associated with hail, with the hurricanes. Yeah, so it's one of the things that it becomes really viable, and it was kind of, I'm switching gears slightly. You said earlier you were talking about it comes to the insurance agent and then they decide whether they're going to cover the roof or not. The pre-inspection, you and I have talked about this before. I've talked to you guys about it. The pre-inspection, having the roof treated prior to, is going to reduce that completely because I'm going to already have that 5-year warranty. I'm already going to have that completion report or that maintenance report to be able to provide the insurance carrier. I'm going to be able to provide the buyer immediately. If you come to me after the fact, and this is almost a 99% chance, this is what happens here in Topeka.
Yeah.
You come to me afterwards and say, "Hey, my buyer or my seller would like to do Roof Maxx instead of replace the roof because they got a bid to replace the roof." The buyer wants the new roof. Just cut and dry, right? And they're not going to give. It just happened to you, your example, right?
Yep.
So they're not going to give. So it's too late at that point. But if I take away that opportunity completely at a fraction of the price, because realtors already get a discount on Roof Maxx, so you're even more a better deal than others. The other thing is you're also, if you are going to get a cash return, that what did you say?
Actual cash value.
Actual cash value,
Yeah.
about like 2/3 of the is going to they're going to keep because they've already paid for that part of the life, right, of that roof. They're going to give you this little bitty chunk. You're not going to be able to afford those roofs in the long run either. So this becomes more viable in the future, and they've actually seen that uptick in Roof Maxx corporate with people calling in saying insurance has sent me a letter, whatever, and Roof Maxx dealers are responding and getting good responses from it. So,
Do you see that kind of, if Florida leads kind of the nation with the roofing concerns and regulations and things like that, do you see something going across Kansas that would also require roofs to have regular maintenance plans and things like that to make them insurable and to make insurance companies more readily available to cover these roofs? Do you see that kind of happening here? And that's, I guess, from both of you guys.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well, for me, it has to become not just the insurance. It's the adoption of the entire concept. So when Florida did it, they were adjusting stuff based on roofers' way of doing business, because they were filing lawsuit after lawsuit against insurance companies down there, and so they said, roofers, you can't do this type of thing anymore. They gave some cash benefit back to people who did maintenance on their roofs. They gave them alternatives for a more heavily protected roof through metal, rubber, high impact shingles, those type of things. They gave some state discounts or added filing their taxes and et cetera.
Yeah.
So it became a whole state concept. I think that Florida is driving that industry in the roofing industry, but it has to be adopted by the states. And that's where the challenge is going to be. And insurance, I believe, will want to go that direction
well, yeah,
because it's actually beneficial to them.
Sure.
We will. Kansas is pretty slow to respond to a lot of things, insurance wise. Just to be honest with you, we've had some battles, but the home savings program would be perfect. Something like that is one of the legislations they introduced, was to have a home savings program, kind of like a health savings program. And I've talked about this, but with the election year next year, that probably won't happen again. But anyway, that's kind of just one option to have a savings program to write that off your taxes and benefit the homeowners and people that are buying homes in Kansas.
Sure.
I think it'd be
So there's no talks on the state level of any kind of a option for the maintenance plans that kind of say Florida has right now.
No. I mean, yeah, they're
Do
very slow to respond.
you feel that would be a good direction?
I think it would be, yeah, a combination of any maintenance and any way to, hey, put this money back, save it up, and responsible homeowners that
Sure.
can do stuff like that, upkeep and maintenance. That helps everything. That helps that homeowner at the current, helps for future transactions. I mean,
So-
anyway.
With that being said, what would insurance cover and what would they not cover when it comes to hail, wind, old shingles, to where the rejuvenation won't work, and we're basically at a point to where it's either been called to be patched, which I
Right.
would assume on the buying side nobody's going to want to agree to that,
Probably
and
not.
on the seller side, of course, they want to keep it as cheap as possible.
That's what we're just talking about. If it's got patches everywhere, I'm gonna come look at that roof, and it's like, I'm not gonna send that to underwriting because they're probably not gonna pass that. But if they've got it rejuvenated a few months before, and that 2008 roof, maybe it looks like a 10-year-old roof when actually it's older.
Sure.
It's just gonna present better and for any type of underwriting.
So, but you can't
Yeah.
rejuvenate hail damage, correct?
oh no, I don't think so.
No. So we can. So let's go back to your example when we can. So the hail damage was done so long ago.
Oh.
But and there's not been a claim on it, right? But they've claimed it and found out it was 2 years ago. The insurance company's not going to. We can still treat that roof and extend the life of that roof, or replace necessary shingles that need to be replaced, and keep that life of that roof going. But if you file a claim and you get money back, we deny 100% of the time to treat that roof, because you are now kind of obligated in a way,
Yeah,
right,
Yeah,
to replace
yeah.
that roof.
We paid for it. I mean,
And
I had
and
that come up too.
and I don't know how many times this has happened, but where somebody got a claim, didn't do the roof, and you go to sell it or whatever, and the next insurance agent going, well, we're not going to cover that. It never got repaired the last time.
That's happened a couple times. I'm like,
That actually is happening right now with another agent in our office, where we found out that there was a claim, it was paid out, they didn't even disclose it, and now it's going into mediation because of that.
Good.
So, because there was a lot of damage done from a recent rain,
sure.
and it turned out that it did need to be replaced, but they did take the money and did whatever they wanted with it, I guess.
Yeah. But let's go back to the idea what you were asking him too is, what is insurance covering in insurance?
Yeah.
Because it's drastically different.
It is.
When we talked the other day about this, it's the landscape in the last 4 months alone has changed drastically in insurance. So the concept that you go to sell a house and they think that they're obligated to get a roof from the insurance company is no longer there.
Sure.
Roofers have ruined that in part. My own cohorts have been out there pursuing insurance, fighting insurance companies, making insurance pay more than they should to replace a roof. And as a result, insurance is like, whoa, you're going to make us go bankrupt. You're going to do this. What was it the other day? You said 80% or 70% of claims in Kansas is roofs?
Yeah, that's probably close. It's almost 80%.
80% of claims in Kansas have been roofs.
Oh,
Yeah.
And the majority of those is being forced in by roofers going knocking on doors saying, I can get you a new roof, right?
There's one.
That time has changed. The other thing is now insurance is looking at it differently than they used to. So if you have hail, but it didn't really damage the shingle other than the granules on the roof, they're not going to what we call buy the roof. They're not going to replace the roof for you. So if it has granule loss as a result of that hail, they're going to say, hey, you know, it still has its integrity. It's still good to go. Sorry, we're not going to give it. Or a while back, I had one that gave me 230 shingles, something like that. Josiah sold it. It was 230 shingles over in the Lawrence.
Mhm.
And I argued with them. I told them to come out and point out which 230 I was supposed to replace because it was hail damage,
Right.
and they wouldn't do it. And we end up working some other stuff to help the owner get a new roof because the whole roof really needed to be replaced because of its
Sure.
age
Sure.
as well as the hail damage. But even things cosmetic is if exclusions now. So if you got hail on your gutters and other places, but it hasn't ruined the integrity of that, they won't give you the money for that. Roofers used to take advantage of that. Give me the window wells. Give me
Right, right.
Depends
give
on
me
the
this.
contract of that
Right.
insurance, and that's what we're fighting is, we got Pella windows. I don't know if anybody's I got one the other day. So, hey, you need to open up your insurance claim, get you some new windows because your windows are damaged too. So I'm like, okay. And I've had a couple of those in the last 5 years that, $2,000 or $3,000 claims turn into $50,000 claims because they have to replace 10 Pella windows, and it's like insane. They're like, really? I'm like, yeah, that's why your insurance is.
So, and that's why all of our
Yeah, and
premiums
every-
are
and that-
skyrocketing.
Yeah, and there's companies that, like you said, that dive into that and just say, oh, here's why I make my quick buck.
Yeah, there's insurance companies that's leaving Kansas right now because there's too many claims, right? So they're calling owners up or sending them the letter that says we are dropping your insurance, or we're gonna reduce your insurance coverage to not include your roof, and if they don't want that, they're just leaving, and allows you to pick up more work, but it doesn't. It's happening across the board. And so rejuvenation has more value than ever before. Roof maintenance in general, just if a roof is 10 years old, it's already getting called out by the insurance company because they're flying satellites and drones over your house to take pictures to say, we know that it's 10 years old, we're reducing, we're changing your policy based on that. Okay. We also know that at 10 years old, it starts into a rapid deterioration. That roof is actually starting to go downhill at 10. And by the time it hits 15, 16, 17 years old, by the way, it doesn't matter whether they say it's a 50-year shingle, a 40-year shingle, a 30-year shingle, a 20-year shingle. It doesn't matter. They all have about the same life expectancy. Some people will just say, well, I got a 50-year shingle. Don't bother me. Well, if you go to sell it, whatever, you're going to get called out the same way everybody else is. It's just a reality.
It's
And
a
that's
sales pitch, basically.
So they're not a better shingle then.
It's a better shingle. So it's you think about it. The basic premise. May I borrow this just a second? Is that a regular roof is basically just a what they call a class 3 shingle. Is really kind of one layer in the long run, right? But when you buy a higher impact shingle, it's laminated. It's got more than one layer. So if this one gets damaged, there's still another layer. If that one gets damaged, there's another layer. So basing on the impact of the quality of shingle you're getting, the higher that quality is.
The smaller stuff, it's not going to touch those roofs. The big stuff's going to do damage to any roof, but like the small golf ball and smaller probably aren't going to do damage to the class 4s.
Yeah.
Unless they're really old.
So even with the adjustments in insurance that you're going to have to pay more out of your pocket, most likely, you're still even more likely not to even be getting a claim in the future. So if you're missing, here's the thing: do not file a claim. If you look at a roof and you see 4 or 5 shingles missing up on that roof, do not ask your owner to file a claim until we look at it. Because insurance is going to say, we'll replace the 5 shingles. Oh, by the way, your deductible is $2,000. So in reality, you have a claim against you now, and you don't get any money because that's not worth $2,000. Okay? Yep. So you don't want people just filing claims. And roofers used to do that.
Yeah.
File a claim.
Oh, yeah.
There was a lot of hail in your neighborhood. Just file a claim. We could probably get it. We'll fight with the insurance company when it happens.
Well, that's that fly-by-night company
yeah,
knocking
exactly.
on your door.
Yep,
So
exactly, yeah.
reputable roofers.
Yep.
So
Amen.
kind of,
I get you that. I just want to be able to get
I
that.
guess
idea.
part of what I'm thinking about, and I always think long-term, is
Sure.
that I'm almost hearing, why spend the money on a more expensive roof? If I'm only gonna get 10 or 15 years out of it anyway, the chances that I sell, just buy the cheapest thing you can throw up there, because you're no longer really concerned with what kind of roof it is.
That may, I mean,
Is that, I mean,
yeah, somewhat. I mean,
so now when I look at it in a longer picture,
Mhm.
in the whole housing industry, where are we taking this? Because without these other
I know.
programs like Mark was talking about in Florida,
Yeah.
now we're going to have more people having to pay for a roof more often.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much here. I don't know what the average life cycle is for a roof here. You know, I mean, 8, 9 years maybe. I don't know what that is. You probably have a better idea.
a lot of folks
But
are
if that's the
14-year-olds.
case, then I know, for example, on my house that's here in
Mhm.
Topeka, I think it was 2018, I did the high impact class
Mhm.
4 shingles.
Mhm.
You know, it did give me
It did,
$100 cheaper or something a year on my insurance.
It will, for
Uh,
sure.
Not near enough to cover the extra cost, but I'm like, well, did I really spend the money wisely? Maybe
I
I
don't
should have
know.
just bought the cheapest thing that looked good.
Like I said, the smaller stuff, it's not going to damage that, and it may have been damaged by it. That's what I see anyway.
Yeah.
People with class 4s, I have way less claims, and maybe it's just because they think they didn't, maybe they don't have it looked at all. But
But if the life expectancy is still the same in an insurance side, then it really
Yeah.
does change my cost. Because when I'm
Yeah.
looking at 30 plus years with that shingle, anticipably,
it depends
right?
on the cost difference too. I mean, if you're talking about, I don't know what the difference is. That normal quote, if it's
$600 to $1,200
Yeah, okay.
extra.
yeah,
Yeah.
So it depends on the
Yeah,
depends
that's
on
about
that.
what I paid. It's probably an extra $1,000, $1,200 for
Yeah.
that. But when you're buying a new house,
Right.
right, and you've
Mhm.
got that,
Yeah.
and I've got new insurance,
Yep.
we may or not know that those are class 4 high impact
So-
shingles,
well,
and so
it's-
you're
yeah.
basing it off
Yeah.
of.
That's where I'd say keep all your documents too. That's what and that's the other thing.
geez.
People
Yes.
know, like, oh, it is. Oh, I found it, and that's what the other day somebody called me. Was like, what options do I have? I was like, well, class 4 it would save you this, and they're like, oh, my
So-
neighbor just told me there was class 4.
Whether
So-
you use us or somebody else, you always insist on having the manufacturer's warranty. And that warranty, and when you're selling a house, you should ask for that warranty because it is transferable to one new owner. Okay? It can't go 2 or 3 owners, but it's transferable to one new owner. They need to have that, but also just for general maintenance, it's very beneficial to know what shingle we're dealing with and the manufacturer, and to be able to go back and say, hey, there's defects here. We can go back and ensure, the manufacturer will replace this roof because of the defects that's associated here. But Brock and I just looked at one a while back that was clearly a manufacturer defect, and it's 8 years old, and it needs replaced.
Yes, Tamco.
and they have no warranty, right? And so they called the installer, and the installer says, "Oh yeah, we don't give those warranties out normally, so we don't have anything on file or anything. We keep every single one on file. We issue one every single time. Good roofers will, in general. So you just need to ask. There's no reason why they can't give you a manufacturer warranty." Okay.
Appreciate it, guys.
Thank
Gotta
you.
wrap it up.
Yep. Thank you.
Last tips you would give for people working with buyers and sellers.
Have your documentation if possible. Yeah.
Documentation,
I mean,
right?
if you just replace the roof, have that. I mean, and
Sure.
that certificate or whatever, and have the relationship with your agent and say, okay. Toby calls me, hey Brad, that roof I replaced 5 years ago. Send me that. I'm selling my house, and have your clients do that.
Sure. Mark?
Yeah, the couple things. One is we talk about it a lot, pre-inspections, or at least if you don't have the whole house in pre-inspection, have us look at the roof, get it
Yeah.
prepared, maintained. Sometimes it's just a $500 to $1,000 fix on the roof to make sure that it's viable to be able to sell. Otherwise, when they're on the other end, they're saying, oh, that's a $3,000 fix, or another roofer comes in and says it's going to be more than that, or another roofer comes in and says it has to be replaced. So get those things done early. We'll let you know whether rejuvenation is a good choice or not at that time. The other thing is we offer free inspections. I know there's other people in town that charge for those inspections. We've been doing that free for you guys. It's essential that you're not using us strictly as a bargaining chip. Otherwise, we spend a lot of money just being your bargaining chip.
Sure. So
don't have us come out just to be able to give you a validation and say, now I'm going to have the owner give us $9,000 at closing for that roof, and you're not taking, you're not working with us to be able to get those. We can do work after. We've been successful 100% of the time. I hate to say that with the weather in Kansas, but so far we've met every single closing so far. We've met the deadlines for closing. Except for one thing when it doesn't happen is when you have the inspection done, then you get insurance involved, and you had the inspection done 2 weeks before closing.
Yep, time crunch.
And now we're dealing with insurance for a month. And because we're waiting 10 days potentially for them to be able to send the adjuster out, another 10 days to get the report back, and so you're just dealing with that issues. So we have one right now for Caldwell Banker that's that way, where they're trying to close it, but they can't because it's still in the loophole of insurance.
Sure.
So that's
all right, guys.
That's it. Thank you.
Maintenance is important. If you got issues with the roof and you're selling a house, listing it, might have somebody go look at it before you have an inspection or put it on the market just to see what your options are. Even call Brad and Mark here. They can come take a look at it, see what your options are. That way you're maybe not have to do a full replacement if it qualifies for rejuvenation and the proper documentation is done. So a lot of roofs coming up, a lot of insurance questions. If you guys have anything further, reach out to Mark or Brad here. They're more than happy to help you out. Anybody have any further questions for Mark or Brad before we?
I just wonder, what do you do with metal roofs? People that put metal roofing on.
Metal roof's a great option. It's a little bit more expensive option, of course, as you know, but it's a great option. They basically say it's like a forever roof. The cosmetic clause that we were talking about a little while ago comes into effect now, right, on metal roofs. So just because you get dents on it doesn't mean you're going to get a roof replacement. They're going to say that's a cosmetic dent, but it's still functioning as intended. And therefore you are protected. So, but it's a good option for people to want to choose roofs, and it's got its own unique look too that people really like. So, definitely different coverage.
Real quick, I have a listing coming up, and they've been battling. They have State Farm. The roofing company said they need a new roof, and the adjuster says it, and they still want it.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
With State Farm, I've never heard that with State Farm. Really, that's no. So there's two basic insurance companies in town that we will that are national chains that you will always have a denial, and then that's where the quality roofer has to come in and support you in being able to really determine whether they can document things to help you. Doesn't mean we're going to win it. We just got one down. We've been fighting for 7-8 months with not State Farm but another one, and the owner finally just said, I give up. And so I gave him the option of replacing the roof, doing the repairs the insurance company is willing to do, or replace half of the roof because all the damage is on one side of the roof. And so he's deciding because he's going to have to take money out of his pocket for two of the choices. But it's just a fact of insurance. But if you have a quality roofer, they can work with it. An insurance a roofer that just says file it, and then they say no, they walk away. That's not the roofer you need to have at your table. So,
I think the adjuster.
State Farm and Allstate adjusters are different than American Family adjusters. American Family adjuster is going to show up. They know Josiah when they show up, and they know that Josiah is not calling out a roof because he's hoping that it has hail. He's calling it out because it does have hail. So when he shows up, he knows he's dealing with a legit guy. He shows up, and we've had really good luck with American Family. State Farm and Allstate have adjusters that they hire to come in from somewhere else. They're not, I call them glorified photographers. They're not even adjusters. They come in, they take pictures, they send it to somebody sitting in New York City, Atlanta, Dallas, Texas, and they're sit there and they look at the pictures and go, nope, not gonna get that one.
So does the seller have any option?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, to work with a roofer that can go back, look at those pictures, document the stuff, be able to take a microscopic look at a shingle to see if it's really broken, to be able to do that. If it's cosmetic, then it's a hard argument with State Farm. But if it's legit, then a good roofer will be able to help you overturn that. And not always, because they're still struggling. But you can never guarantee that. But a good roofer can help you document the necessary things and tell you as an owner what you need to say and ask for. Second opinions, where they actually send a real adjuster out, is an option sometimes when it's legit. But
So I need to-
sorry, we're going long.
Yeah, we're going along, and so I'm sure some people.